You are standing on the lot. The salesman is smiling, the keys are already in his hand, and the truck in front of you looks perfect. But I have seen that exact truck come back to my bay on a flatbed. Twice. For 30 years I have turned wrenches on pickups, and I can tell you most of the trucks people brag about are the ones that quietly bankrupt them. 10 of them belong on a list you should never sign for in 2026, and 4 of them will outlast almost anything else on the road. Here is the promise. I am holding the single best truck for the very end, because when you see what beats every big name, you will understand why the dealerships stop talking about it. This works whether you are buying new, buying used, or already have one parked in your driveway right now. I got burned myself once, on a shiny half-ton that cost me $9,000 in repairs before it hit 100,000 miles. That truck taught me this ranking, so let me count it down for you the way I would for my own brother. Let me start at number 10, and I promise it gets worse before it gets better. Number 10 on my never buy list is the Nissan Titan and its little brother, the Frontier, from the mid-2000s, specifically the 2005 through 2010 trucks. On paper, they looked like a bargain. A big American-style pickup with a Japanese badge. People thought they were getting Titan toughness with Nissan reliability. What they actually got was a radiator that liked to crack on the inside, and when that internal wall cracked, engine coolant bled straight into the transmission line. Mechanics have a name for what comes out of that transmission when you pull the dipstick. We call it the strawberry milkshake. It is pink, it is thick, and it means your transmission is already dying from the inside. I have pulled that dipstick more times than I can count, and I hate the look on the owner's face every single time. Because a rebuilt transmission on one of those runs $3,500 to $5,000 on a truck that might only be worth $6 or $7 grand. You do the math. That is a total loss hiding under the hood. So if you are looking at an older Titan or Frontier, pull the transmission dipstick before you hand over a dime. If the fluid looks pink or milky, walk away. Just walk away. But a dying transmission is a slow bleed. The next truck on my list fails in a way that can leave you stranded on the side of the interstate with a check engine light and a bill that will make you sick. Number 9 is the first-generation Ford F-150 EcoBoost, the 3.5-liter twin-turbo from 2011 and 2012. Now, Ford sold these as the best of both worlds. Big power, better fuel economy, all from a smaller engine. And when they run right, they do move. But those early EcoBoost trucks had a nasty habit. On humid days, moisture would build up inside the intercooler, and then, when you stomped the throttle to pass someone, the engine would gulp all that condensation at once and stumble hard. Owners called it the limp, the shudder, the stall. Ford called it a software issue. I called it a design that shipped before it was ready. Worse, those early ones had timing chain stretch. When that chain stretches, your timing goes off, you throw codes, and you are looking at $2,000 to $3,000 to set it right. On a turbo engine, the repairs are never cheap because everything is packed in tight and labor time adds up fast. Here is your takeaway. If you want an EcoBoost, and plenty of them are fine now, avoid those very first 2 model years and listen for a rattle on cold start. That rattle is the timing chain telling you the truth the seller will not. Therefore, you would think a good old-fashioned V8 would be the safe bet. No turbos, no computers guessing at fuel. Simple. Except the next one proves that even a plain V8 can eat you alive. Number 8 is the General Motors 5.3-liter V8 with active fuel management, found in Silverados and Sierras across a wide stretch of years, roughly 2007 through 2014, and it came back again in later trucks with a similar system. The idea sounded smart. To save gas, the engine shuts off 4 of its 8 cylinders when you are cruising. Here is what really happens in my bay. That system runs on little lifters that collapse. When an AFM lifter fails, it can wipe the camshaft lobe right along with it. Now you have metal shavings circulating through your engine, and a lot of these trucks burned oil so badly the owners never even saw it coming until a rod started knocking. I have had customers who added a quart of oil every 800 miles and thought that was normal. It is not normal. That is an engine eating itself. A lifter and cam job on one of these runs $4,000 to $7,000, and if it grenades completely, you are shopping for a whole engine. If you own one of these, I am going to help you catch this early in just a minute, so stay with me. And if you are buying one, ask if the AFM system has been deleted or if the lifters have been done. That single answer can save you $5,000. But at least a gas V8 gives you some warning. The next truck on my list is a diesel, and diesel repairs do not come in the hundreds or the low thousands. They come in numbers that look like a used car. Number 7 is the Ram 1900 Eco Diesel, the 3.0-liter turbo diesel V6 that Ram put in half-ton trucks starting around 2014. Folks loved the idea. A light-duty truck that could tow decent and still get almost 30 on the highway. Sounded like a dream. The reality was EGR coolers that failed, oil coolers that clogged, and in the worst cases, complete engine failure from oil pump and bearing problems. When one of these lets go, you are not doing a repair. You are doing an engine replacement, and on that little diesel, the bill lands between $8,000 and $12,000 once you count all the labor. Think about that. You bought the diesel to save on fuel, and one failure erases every gallon you ever saved and then a decade of gallons on top. That is the trap. The thing marketed to save you money is the thing built to take the most. So here is where I need to stop and tell you something, because you have been very patient. Somebody profited from you not knowing this. These failures were not secrets to the people who built and sold these trucks. They showed up in warranty claims and internal bulletins long before they ever showed up in your driveway, and nobody in a shiny showroom was ever going to bring it up. Hold that thought because it only gets clearer as we climb. Number 6 is the Ram 1900 with the 5.7-liter Hemi V8, and I know this one is going to sting some of you because that engine has a loyal following. That deep Hemi rumble sells trucks. I get it. But that same multi-displacement system I warned you about on the GM trucks lives in the Hemi too, and it brings the same disease. The Hemi tick. That is the sound of a lifter starting to fail and a camshaft lobe wearing down. I have listened to 100 of these tick their way into a $4,000 to $6,000 repair. And here is the cruel part. It does not just happen on high-mileage trucks. I have seen Hemis start ticking well under 100,000 miles, on trucks that were babied and dealer serviced their whole lives. It is not about how you drove it. It is about how it was built. If you are set on a Hemi, look for one where the lifters and cam have already been replaced with the updated parts, or plan on doing it as preventive work. Either way, go in with your eyes open, not your ears closed. Therefore, let me turn straight to you now, because I know some of you are getting nervous. Maybe you already own one of these trucks. Maybe you are watching this on your TV right now, glancing out the window at a Silverado or a Ram sitting in your driveway, feeling your stomach drop. Do not panic. This next part is just for you, and it will not cost you much of anything. If you have one of these V8 trucks with the cylinder shutoff system, here is the first thing I want you to do this weekend. Pull your oil dipstick when the engine is cold, wipe it, dip it, and really look. If the level is low and you have not checked it since your last change, that is your early warning. These engines burn oil silently before they fail loud. Start writing down how many miles it takes to drop half a quart. If that number is shrinking, your lifters and rings are talking to you. Second, on a cold morning, before you touch the gas, start the engine and just listen for the first 10 seconds. A healthy V8 settles into a smooth idle almost right away. If you hear a rhythmic tick that fades as it warms up, that is a valve or lifter waking up, and it will only get worse. Get a mechanic to put a stethoscope on it before it wipes the cam. Third, and this one is free, there are simple devices and even careful driving habits that can keep that fuel-saving system from cycling as hard. Ask an honest shop about a disabler if your truck is out of warranty. Some owners have added 100,000 trouble-free miles just by keeping that system from constantly switching cylinders on and off. You do not have to be helpless here. You just have to know what the salesman never told you. Now, take a breath, because we are getting into the heavy hitters, and number 5 is where the dollar figures stop being repairs and start being disasters. Number 5 is the General Motors 6.6-liter Duramax diesel, the LML version, built roughly from 2011 through 2016. Now, hear me clearly. The Duramax engine itself is strong. That is not the problem. The problem is the fuel pump bolted to it. These trucks used a high-pressure fuel pump called the CP4. When that pump fails, and they do fail, it does not fail quietly. It sends tiny metal shavings through your entire fuel system. Injectors, lines, rails, tank, everything. It contaminates the whole works in one shot. Do you know what that bill looks like? A full fuel system replacement on one of these runs, $8,000 to $12,000, sometimes more. I have written that estimate and watched a grown man put his hand over his mouth. One little pump, and the whole truck is held hostage. There are protective kits and a bypass you can add to give that pump a fighting chance. And if you own one, that is money well spent. But if you are shopping, understand the risk you are taking on. This is a great engine chained to a ticking time bomb. But as bad as that is, at least it is one system. The truck at number 4 earned a reputation so ugly that people gave it a nickname you have probably heard, and it deserves every letter of it. Number 4 is the Ford Super Duty with the 6.0-liter Powerstroke diesel, built from about 2003 through 2007. Owners and mechanics alike started calling it a certain unkind name, and I will just say the polite version. They called it a money pit. Where do I even start? Head gaskets that blew because the head bolts could not hold the pressure, EGR coolers that cracked and dumped coolant, oil coolers that clogged, injectors that failed, a high-pressure oil system that drove people insane trying to diagnose. I have had one of these trucks in my bay for 3 weeks straight, chasing one problem after another. A proper head gasket job on a 6.0 means pulling the cab clean off the frame. That alone puts you at $4,000 to $5,000, and that is if nothing else is wrong, which it always is. By the time you bulletproof one of these correctly, you can spend $6,000 or $7,000 on top of the truck. Now here is the honest part, because I never want to lie to you. A properly fixed and bulletproof 6.0 can actually be a decent truck. But that is a project for someone who knows exactly what they are getting into. For the average buyer walking onto a lot, it is a trap with a diesel badge. Steer clear unless the seller can prove every one of those fixes was already done, with receipts in hand. Now, everything I just handed you on these trucks, the dipstick check, the cold start rattle, the questions that make a seller squirm, that is me doing for you what I would do for my own brother, for free, right here. But there is only so much I can fit into one video, and that is exactly why I sat down and wrote it all out properly. 3 books, written by me, built on documented repair data and warranty records instead of manufacturer spin and forum hearsay. 437 pages plus of the real thing. In there, I walk you through reading reliability data like a mechanic, decoding engine failure patterns by decade instead of by badge, running true cost of ownership before you sign, and the negotiation protocol that keeps a dealer from working you over on the lot. It is yours forever, no subscription, and you can take it into a dealership on your phone. If you want the full system, scan the QR code right there on your screen, link in the description, pinned comment, and the books are yours. Because once you know how these failures get hidden, you start to see who benefited from the hiding. So somebody profited from all this. Let me finally say it plain, now that you have seen the pattern. These were not random flukes. Engineers knew about weak head bolts and bad fuel pumps and lifters that collapse. The bulletins existed. The warranty data existed. But admitting it out loud would have hurt sales, so the trucks kept rolling off the lot, and the repair bills quietly rolled onto you. The people who designed the failure were never the people who paid for it. That brings me to number 3, and this one might make you angry, because it is a truck that a lot of hardworking folks bought specifically because they thought they were being smart. Number 3 is the Nissan Titan XD with the 5.0-liter Cummins diesel from around 2016 through 2019. Now, the word Cummins on the side of a truck means something. It is one of the most respected names in diesel, so Nissan slapped it on the Titan XD, and buyers lined up thinking they had outsmarted the big 3. But this was a small Cummins built specifically for this application, and it never lived up to the name on the valve cover. Turbo problems, emission system headaches, and a truck that fell somewhere between a half-ton and a three-quarter-ton without truly being either. Resale value fell off a cliff. Dealers did not want them on trade. Parts and service support got thin fast. I had a customer trade a 2-year-old one and take a beating on the value, and he looked at me and said, "I thought Cummins meant it would last forever." That name was doing a lot of heavy lifting in the marketing. The engine itself was not the legend the badge promised. The lesson here is bigger than one truck. A great name bolted onto the wrong platform does not make a great truck. Do not buy the badge, buy the record. Therefore, if a famous name is the main reason you want a truck, that is exactly the moment to slow down and check the actual failure history. Because the next two trucks on this list wear some of the most trusted badges in America, and that is precisely why so many people got burned. Number 2 on my never buy list is the Ford F-150 with the 3-valve 5.4-liter Triton V8, built from about 2004 through 2010. This is one of the most common trucks in the entire country. There are millions of them. And that is exactly the problem, because the failures are just as common. Two things made this engine famous in my bay, and neither one is good. First, the spark plugs. Ford used a two-piece plug design that loved to seize in the head and then snap in half when you tried to remove it. A routine tune-up, something that should cost a couple $100, turns into a nightmare where plugs break off inside the engine and have to be extracted one broken piece at a time. I have spent a full day on a truck just getting 8 spark plugs out. That job can run $600 to $1,500 when they fight you. Second, the cam phasers. These trucks have variable timing parts called phasers, and when they wear, you get a loud rattle on startup that sounds like a diesel. Fixing that is a timing job that runs $2,000 to $3,000. And the little timing chain guides get brittle and break, which can take the whole engine with them. So you have one of the best-selling trucks in American history sitting on driveways in every town, and a huge share of them are one cold start away from a rattle that empties your wallet. If you are looking at one, listen on a cold start and ask when the plugs were last done and whether any broke. If the seller gets cagey, you have your answer. But here is why this one only lands at number 2 and not the very bottom. At least these trucks warned you. They rattled. They ticked. They gave you a chance. The truck at number 1, the worst buy on my entire list, betrayed the people who trusted it the most, and it wore a badge that is supposed to mean bulletproof. The worst truck to buy, my number 1, is the Toyota Tacoma from about 2005 through 2010. And before you throw something at your screen, let me explain, because this is not the engine. The engine is fine. It is the frame. These Tacomas, and I love the Tacoma name as much as anybody, had a frame rust problem so severe that Toyota was forced into one of the largest frame replacement programs I have ever seen. The frames rusted from the inside out so badly that in some cases the rear leaf spring hangers rusted clean through and the springs came loose. On some trucks, the frame could literally break in half. Toyota bought some of them back and replaced frames on others at a cost that ran well over $10,000 per truck. Now think about the betrayal here. People bought a Tacoma precisely because Toyota means it will last forever. They paid a premium over every other mid-sized truck for that reputation. And the one part that is supposed to outlast everything, the frame the whole truck is built on, was the part that failed. That is why it sits at number 1. The higher the trust, the harder the fall. Here is what you do. If you are looking at any Tacoma from that era, get under it, or get it on a lift, and check whether the frame was replaced under the program. A replacement frame is actually a good thing because it means you have fresh steel. An original rusty frame from a Rust Belt state is a hard no. Poke it. If it flakes, run. And that is the bottom of the list. 10 trucks that have taken more money out of honest people's pockets than any salesman will ever admit. But I did not bring you all this way just to scare you off every truck on the road. Because for every one of these, there is a truck that quietly refuses to die. And I have 4 of them for you now. The fourth best, the first of my survivors, is the Chevrolet and GMC with the 6.0-liter Vortec V8, the LQ4 and later versions, found in 3/4-ton and 1-ton trucks and vans through the 2000s. This is the GM engine nobody markets to you, and that is exactly why I trust it. No cylinder shutoff nonsense, no fancy fuel-saving gimmicks, just an iron block V8 built to work. I have seen these cross 300,000 miles doing plow duty and delivery routes without ever cracking the timing cover. They are not glamorous, and they are not thrifty at the pump, but they run and run and run. If you find a work truck with a 6.0 Vortec that was maintained, you have found a workhorse. But as tough as that old Chevy is, the next survivor is the one I recommend to families, because it hauls the kids and the trailer and still shows up at 300,000 miles. The third best truck for going the distance is the Toyota Tacoma with the 4.0-liter V6, the 1GR engine. From the years after they sorted out that frame issue, roughly 2016 and newer, and the well-maintained earlier ones with replaced frames. Yes, I put a Tacoma on both lists, and that is the whole point of this ranking. The engine and drivetrain in these trucks are close to indestructible. That 4.0 V6 and the transmission behind it will run past 250 and 300,000 miles with basic care. That is why used Tacomas hold their value better than almost any truck on the road. People hate to sell them because they know what they have. When a truck barely depreciates, that is the market telling you the truth that no advertisement will. Therefore, if resale value and long life matter to you, this is the one to hunt for. Just remember the frame lesson from earlier. Check the steel and you are buying a truck your grandkids could drive. The second best truck that will outlast almost everything is the Toyota Tundra with the 5.7-liter 3URFE V8, built from 2007 through 2021. This is the full-size truck the big three do not want you comparing to theirs, and once you know its record, you will understand why. No cylinder shutoff. A timing chain built to last the life of the engine. A cooling and lubrication setup that just works. I have seen these Tundras roll past 300,000 miles on the original engine and transmission, still towing, still running strong. There are documented trucks out there past 400,000 and even higher on original internals. The scheduled maintenance is almost boring. Oil, fluids, and it keeps going. Now, it will not win any fuel economy contest, and that is exactly the trade nobody in a showroom frames honestly. You spend a little more at the pump, and in return you almost never spend a dime in my bay. Over a decade, that is thousands of dollars staying in your pocket, and a truck still worth real money when you are done with it. But if the Tundra is that good, what on earth could beat it for the top spot? What truck did I hold back for the very end? Here it is. The single best truck for outlasting everything, my number one survivor, is the Ford Super Duty with the 7.3-liter Powerstroke diesel, built from 1994 and a half through 2003. And I know. I just spent all that time warning you about a Ford diesel. That is exactly why this one is the payoff, because it is the opposite in every way. Where the 6.0 was a money pit, the 7.3 is a legend, and the mechanics who lived through both will tell you the same thing. This is the diesel that refuses to die. These engines routinely pass 400,000 miles, plenty of them are still working past 500,000, and there are documented trucks out there past 1 million miles on the original block. 1 million. Let that sink in. Here is the buried truth, and it comes straight from the people who kept these trucks alive. Diesel technicians and long-haul owners have tracked these engines for decades, and the record is remarkably consistent. The 7.3 is simple, overbuilt, and low stress. It does not make huge power by diesel standards, and that is the secret. It was never strained. It was built like an anvil in an era before emissions equipment choked these engines with the coolers and pumps and sensors that killed the trucks that came after. Somebody profited from you forgetting this truck existed. Because a truck that runs for 30 years and 500,000 miles is a truck nobody has to replace, and nobody makes money on a truck that never dies. So the industry moved on, chased more power and better mileage numbers, and buried the simple iron engine that just would not quit. But the guys in the bays never forgot. The owners who kept them running never forgot. And now you know it too. If you can find a clean, well-maintained 7.3, and you actually need a heavy-duty diesel for towing and work, that truck can serve you for the rest of your driving life. Check the oil for signs of neglect, listen for a healthy start, look at the frame and body for rust, and if it checks out, you have found the one truck on this entire list that outlasts them all. So there it is, counted all the way down and all the way back up. 10 trucks built to quietly drain you, and 4 built to outlast almost anything, with that old 7.3 sitting at the very top where the marketing never wanted it. You clicked on this because you did not want to be the guy on the flatbed. Now you are not. You have got the real order, the mechanic's order, not the showroom order, and that is worth thousands the next time you stand on a lot with a salesman smiling at you. I want to hear from you. Tell me down in the comments what you drive right now and whether it landed on my never buy list or my survivor list. And if you think I got one wrong, if you have got a Hemi or a 6.0 that has treated you right, tell me that too. And tell me where in the country you are watching from. I read them. If you are the kind of driver who wants the honest truth before you spend your money, not after, then you already belong here with the rest of us who refuse to get burned again. Stick around and protect yourself, because next time I am ranking the used trucks under $15,000 that I would actually put my own family in, and there is one on that list that will surprise you even more than the 7.3 did. Before you go, one thing. This video showed you the list, but inside the Garage Bench Club, I walk you through the full ranking, every inspection check I make, and if you're unsure about a truck, you can ask me directly. A real person, me, answers you myself. You won't be doing this alone. Just point your phone's camera at the code on your screen. It takes a minute, and you can cancel anytime, one click, no risk. Now that you know which trucks to avoid, let me show you something better. There are 7 dirt cheap pickups almost nobody buys, yet they'll outlast every new truck out there. That one's starting right here, so stay with me.